The story of the phoenix, a bird that rises from its own ashes, has captivated imaginations for centuries, symbolizing not just rebirth, but the eternal cycle of life itself. This is just one thread in the rich tapestry of animals in mythology, a world where creatures are more than mere symbols. They are embodiments of divine power, moral lessons, and supernatural forces. Across cultures, animals have been revered as sacred, feared as cursed, and woven into stories that shape our understanding of the mystical and the unknown. From the protective gaze of the Egyptian cat goddess Bastet to the fiery terror of the Greek Chimera, these creatures have left an indelible mark on human storytelling. Today, we'll journey through the myths that elevate animals to the status of gods and demons, exploring their significance in ways that blend history, symbolism, and cultural insight. By the end of this video, you'll see these ancient tales in a whole new light and perhaps discover why they continue to resonate with us today. In many ancient cultures, certain animals were more than just creatures, they were divine. These sacred beings held profound significance, often embodying the essence of gods and goddesses, and their presence was woven into the very fabric of daily life. Take the ancient Egyptians, for example. To them, cats weren't just companions, they were revered as living manifestations of Bastet, the goddess of home, fertility, and protection. Killing a cat, even accidentally, was considered a grave offense punishable by death. This deep reverence for cats extended into their art, with statues and amulets depicting these graceful animals as guardians against evil spirits. They were more than pets, they were sacred protectors, a bridge between the mortal world and the divine. Similarly, in Hinduism, the cow is not just an animal but a symbol of life itself. Considered a representation of Kamadhenu, the divine cow who grants all desires, cows are seen as emblems of abundance, nurturing, and motherhood. Their milk sustains life, their dung fuels fires, and their very presence is believed to bring prosperity. This veneration is so deeply rooted that cows are often treated with the same respect as one's own mother, and harming them is seen as a sacred violation. It's not just about the animal itself, but what it represents, an endless source of care and generosity, a living reminder of the divine's nurturing nature. Moving to Greek mythology, the eagle soars as a symbol of Zeus, the king of the gods. This majestic bird wasn't just a creature of the skies, but a divine messenger, carrying the will of Zeus to mortals and gods alike. Its sharp eyes and commanding presence made it a fitting emblem of power, authority, and the heavens themselves. Eagles were often depicted in art and literature, their wings outstretched in moments of divine intervention, a reminder that the gods were always watching, always present. These sacred animals weren't just symbols, they were integral to the rituals, stories, and daily lives of the people who worshipped them. They connected the human and the divine, grounding lofty spiritual concepts in the tangible, familiar forms of the natural world. And while they were celebrated as embodiments of the sacred, they often stood in stark contrast to their cursed counterparts, creatures who represented chaos, destruction, or the darker aspects of the divine. In the shadowy corners of mythology, certain animals emerge not as guides or protectors, but as ominous harbingers of doom. Take the serpent in Christian tradition, a creature forever tied to the story of Adam and Eve. Its cunning words and forbidden fruit became a symbol of temptation and the fall of humanity, embodying the eternal struggle between sin and virtue. This serpent isn't just a snake, it's a representation of humanity's deepest fears about our own vulnerabilities and moral failings. Then there's Fenrir, the monstrous wolf of Norse mythology, whose very existence was prophesied to bring about Ragnarok, the end of the world. Bound by the gods out of fear for his growing strength, Fenrir represents chaos and destruction, a force so uncontrollable that even the gods couldn't escape his fate. His story is a stark reminder of the inevitability of cosmic cycles and the fragility of order in the face of raw, untamed power. These cursed animals serve as more than just villains in myths. They're mirrors reflecting humanity's anxieties and moral dilemmas. They caution us about the consequences of greed, pride, and unchecked ambition. Their presence in literature and art is a testament to their enduring power, from medieval depictions of the serpent coiled around the tree of knowledge to modern interpretations of Fenrir as a symbol of upheaval. What's fascinating is the duality of these creatures. The same animal viewed as a bringer of chaos in one culture might be revered as sacred in another. This interplay of light and shadow, sacred and cursed, invites us to explore the complex ways myths shape our understanding of the natural world and ourselves. And it's this duality that we'll unpack further as we continue our journey through the world of animals in mythology. Birds have long held a unique place in mythology, often serving as intermediaries between the human world and the divine. Take, for instance, the raven in Norse mythology, a creature deeply tied to Odin, the All-Father. These intelligent birds, named Hugin and Munin, meaning thought and memory, would fly across the realms each day, gathering knowledge and reporting back to Odin. Ravens became symbols of wisdom and foresight, embodying the idea that the divine is always watching, always knowing. Their role as messengers wasn't just about delivering information, but also about connecting the gods to the mortal world, a bridge between the seen and the unseen. In Greek mythology, another bird takes center stage as a divine companion, the owl. Associated with Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare, the owl became a symbol of knowledge, strategy, and insight. Athena's owl was said to perch on her shoulder, whispering secrets and guiding her decisions. This connection elevated the owl beyond just a bird. It became a sacred emblem of clarity in the midst of chaos. Unlike the raven's role as a scout, the owl's presence was more about inner wisdom, a reminder that true power lies in understanding, not just observation. But not all birds in mythology carry the same solemn weight. In some Native American traditions, the crow takes on a very different role, that of a trickster. Far from being a straightforward messenger, the crow is often seen as a catalyst for change, a disruptor of the status quo. Stories depict the crow as clever, mischievous, and sometimes even a bit reckless, using its wits to outsmart others or challenge established norms. This portrayal highlights the duality of birds in myth, their ability to embody both order and chaos, wisdom and unpredictability. The crow, in particular, serves as a reminder that transformation often comes from disruption, and that change, while unsettling, can lead to growth. These stories of ravens, owls, and crows illustrate how birds have been woven into the fabric of mythology as symbols of connection, wisdom, and transformation. They blur the line between the earthly and the divine, acting as conduits for messages, insights, and even challenges. This theme of transformation, so often tied to birds in myth, extends beyond just their role as messengers. It invites us to consider how other animals in mythology also embody change, carrying with them lessons of evolution, adaptation, and the ever-shifting balance between the human and the divine. Transformation and shapeshifting have long captivated the human imagination, serving as powerful symbols of change in mythology. Across cultures, animals embody this theme in ways that mirror our deepest fears and desires. Take the werewolf, for instance, a figure deeply rooted in European folklore. This creature is often portrayed as a human cursed to transform into a wolf under the full moon, embodying the tension between our civilized selves and our primal instincts. The werewolf story isn't just about fear, it's a reflection of the struggle to control the wild, untamed parts of our nature that we often hide from the world. In contrast, the Japanese kitsune offers a more nuanced take on transformation. These fox spirits are known for their ability to shapeshift, often taking on human form to interact with mortals. Kitsune can be both benevolent and mischievous, sometimes helping humans while at other times playing tricks on them. This duality mirrors our own conflicting emotions about change, how it can be both a source of opportunity and a cause for uncertainty. The kitsune's shape-shifting abilities also speak to the fluidity of identity, reminding us that the line between human and animal, or even between good and evil, isn't always clear-cut. These stories aren't just ancient tales, they continue to resonate in modern interpretations. From novels to films, the werewolf and the kitsune appear as enduring symbols of transformation, reflecting our ongoing anxieties about identity and the unknown. Why do these myths persist? Perhaps because transformation is a universal experience. Whether it's a physical change like aging or an internal one like personal growth, we're constantly navigating the process of becoming something new. This leads us to another fascinating layer of the theme, transformation as rebirth. Many sacred animals in mythology are tied to cycles of renewal, from the phoenix rising from its ashes to the serpent shedding its skin. These creatures remind us that change, while often daunting, is a necessary part of life, a chance to start anew. And just as these animals transform, so too do the stories we tell about them, evolving to reflect the hopes and fears of each generation. Across cultures and centuries, the phoenix has soared as one of the most enduring symbols of rebirth and immortality. In Egyptian mythology, it was known as the Bennu, a radiant bird associated with the sun god Ra. It was said to rise from its own ashes, embodying the eternal cycle of death and renewal. The Greeks embraced this imagery, naming it the phoenix and weaving it into their tales of resurrection and hope. In Chinese tradition, the Feng Huang, often likened to the phoenix, represents harmony and the balance of yin and yang, symbolizing a new beginning after destruction. The phoenix's fiery death and miraculous rebirth weren't just stories, they were metaphors for the resilience of the human spirit, offering a promise that even in the face of destruction, life can begin anew. But the phoenix isn't alone in its connection to eternal life. In Hindu mythology, there's the Garuda, a magnificent eagle-like creature often depicted as the sun's charioteer. While the phoenix embodies cyclical renewal, the Garuda represents a more direct link to immortality, serving as a divine messenger and protector. Both creatures, though distinct in their roles, share a common thread. They are celestial beings that transcend death, offering a glimpse into humanity's age-old fascination with transcending mortality. These symbols remind us that across cultures, the desire for renewal and eternal life is a universal theme, deeply embedded in our collective imagination. Yet, immortality isn't always a blessing. While the phoenix and Garuda inspire hope, other mythological creatures reveal the darker side of eternal existence. Take vampires, for instance, often depicted with animalistic traits like the bat's nocturnal nature. They embody the curse of immortality, trapped in an endless cycle of survival and suffering. This duality between the phoenix's renewal and the vampire's curse invites us to reflect on the complexities of eternal life. Is it a gift, a burden, or something in between? These stories challenge us to consider the price of immortality and the fine line between blessing and curse. Serpents and dragons have long occupied a paradoxical space in mythology, embodying both creation and destruction in ways that mirror humanity's own relationship with the natural world. Take the Ouroboros, for instance, a serpent devouring its own tail, endlessly cycling through birth, death, and rebirth. This ancient symbol, found in both Egyptian and Greek traditions, captures the eternal rhythm of existence, where endings are merely the seeds of new beginnings. The Ouroboros isn't just a creature, it's a profound metaphor for the unbreakable loop of life itself. Yet not all serpents and dragons are tied to such cosmic cycles. In Chinese mythology, dragons are revered as benevolent forces, guardians of rain, and harbingers of prosperity. These majestic beings aren't feared but celebrated, their presence seen as a blessing that ensures fertile lands and abundant harvest. This stands in stark contrast to the European dragon, often portrayed as a fearsome, fire-breathing beast hoarding treasure and terrorizing villages. While the Chinese dragon brings life and growth, the European dragon represents chaos and greed, a force to be conquered. What's fascinating is how these creatures reveal our own contradictions. The same societies that revered the Chinese dragon for its life-giving reign also crafted tales of European dragons as symbols of destruction. It's a duality that speaks to our own struggles, how we both depend on and fear the natural world, how we seek to harness its power while fearing its unpredictability. Serpents and dragons, then, become mirrors of our own complexities, embodying both the potential for creation and the threat of destruction. This duality isn't unique to serpents and dragons. Across mythology, animals often carry similar contradictions, reflecting humanity's multifaceted relationship with the forces around us. From the nurturing yet fierce lioness of African folklore to the trickster raven of Native American tales, these creatures remind us that nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Just as the Ouroboros suggests, every story has two sides, every force its counterbalance. And perhaps that's the enduring lesson these myths offer, a reminder that creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin, forever intertwined in the tapestry of life. Wolves have long held a powerful and contradictory place in the human imagination, embodying both the sacred and the cursed across countless cultures. Take the legend of Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome, who were nursed by a she-wolf known as Lupa. This nurturing figure became a symbol of protection and maternal care, forever tying the wolf to themes of loyalty and guardianship in Roman mythology. Yet, in stark contrast, Norse mythology presents Fenrir, the monstrous wolf destined to break free during Ragnarok and devour the god Odin. Here, the wolf transforms into a harbinger of chaos and destruction, a force of untamed wildness that defies control. This duality is no accident. Wolves have always been seen as mirrors of humanity, reflecting our own strengths and vulnerabilities. Their pack behavior, defined by cooperation and strong social bonds, makes them symbols of unity and resilience. At the same time, their fierce independence and raw power evoke a sense of awe and fear. This duality has made them a rich metaphor in folklore and storytelling, where they often represent the thin line between civilization and the wild. In many Native American traditions, wolves are revered as teachers and pathfinders, guiding humans through the challenges of life. The Cherokee, for instance, tell stories of the wolf as a wise and loyal companion, embodying the virtues of teamwork and kinship. Yet, in European fairy tales like Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf is a cunning predator, a symbol of danger lurking in the shadows. These contrasting portrayals reveal how the wolf's image shifts with cultural values, yet its core essence remains tied to the untamed and the unknown. Modern interpretations continue to explore this complexity. In literature and film, wolves often symbolize transformation and freedom, as seen in stories like The Jungle Book or Twilight. These narratives tap into the wolf's enduring mystique, reminding us of its role as a bridge between the human and natural worlds. Even in conservation efforts, the wolf's return to ecosystems like Yellowstone has sparked debates about coexistence, echoing ancient themes of fear and respect for this iconic animal. The wolf's pack behavior also offers a fascinating contrast to solitary predators like big cats. While lions and tigers are often celebrated as symbols of independence and raw power, wolves remind us of the strength found in community and collaboration. This distinction highlights how different animals come to represent diverse aspects of the human experience, from the lone warrior to the unified tribe. Whether as guardians or harbingers, wolves continue to captivate us, their howls echoing through the myths and stories that shape our understanding of the world. Moving from the skies to the wild savannas and dense jungles, big cats have long prowled the mythologies of the world, embodying power, mystery, and an almost supernatural allure. Among them, the lion stands as an unmistakable symbol of royalty and strength. In African and Middle Eastern cultures, the lion is often seen as the king of beasts, a fitting representation of leadership and courage. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs, for example, were depicted with lion heads or sitting on thrones flanked by lion statues, symbolizing their divine authority and unshakable rule. Similarly, in Mesopotamian art, the lion was a guardian figure, often carved into palace gates and temples to ward off evil and project strength. Crossing continents to Asia, the tiger takes center stage in Chinese mythology, revered as a creature of immense power and courage. Known as the king of the mountains, the tiger is a protector, often depicted in ancient art and folklore as a fierce defender against malevolent spirits. In Chinese culture, the tiger is one of the four sacred animals, embodying the balance of nature and the forces of yang energy. Its stripes are said to represent the duality of light and darkness, making it a symbol of harmony and resilience. Far to the west in Mesoamerica, the jaguar holds a place of profound spiritual significance. In Aztec and Mayan traditions, the jaguar is the ruler of the underworld, a being that moves effortlessly between the physical and spiritual realms. Shamans often wore jaguar pelts during rituals, believing the animal's power could guide them through the mysteries of life and death. The jaguar's nocturnal nature and piercing gaze made it a symbol of intuition and hidden knowledge, a creature that could see what others could not. These big cats, though separated by geography, share a common thread in mythology. They are more than just animals, they are guides, protectors, and embodiments of forces greater than ourselves. Their presence in stories and rituals reminds us of humanity's deep connection to the natural world and the lessons it holds. And as we explore further, we'll see how this theme of animals as guides weaves through countless myths, offering wisdom and direction to those who seek it. Across cultures and throughout history, animals have often been seen as more than mere creatures. They've been regarded as guides, protectors, and even spiritual companions. One of the most well-known traditions that embody this idea is the Native American belief in totems and spirit animals. For many Native American tribes, animals like the bear and the eagle hold profound significance. The bear, for instance, is often associated with strength, introspection, and healing, while the eagle symbolizes vision, freedom, and a connection to the divine. These animals aren't just symbols, they're considered spiritual allies, offering guidance and wisdom to those who seek it. But this concept of animals as spiritual guides isn't unique to Native American traditions. In Celtic mythology, the stag is revered as a symbol of nobility, transformation, and the bridge between the earthly and the otherworldly. Similarly, in Australian Aboriginal culture, the kangaroo is seen as a guide, embodying adaptability and survival in a harsh landscape. These examples highlight a fascinating universal thread: the belief that animals possess qualities or messages that can help humans navigate their own lives. What's particularly striking is how these traditions emphasize a deep, almost sacred connection between humans and nature. Unlike modern societies, where humans often see themselves as separate from the natural world, these cultures view animals as integral to their spiritual and physical existence. This perspective encourages harmony and respect for the environment, something that feels increasingly relevant in today's world. Yet, not all animals in mythology are seen as benevolent guides. In many traditions, certain creatures are viewed as omens or warnings. This duality raises an intriguing question: how do cultures distinguish between animals that guide and those that foretell danger? The answer often lies in context. An animal like the raven, for example, might be seen as a messenger of wisdom in one culture, while in another, it's viewed as a harbinger of misfortune. This contrast reminds us that the role of animals in mythology is as complex and multifaceted as the cultures themselves. This interplay between guidance and warning offers a fascinating lens through which to explore the human relationship with the natural world. Whether as protectors, teachers, or omens, animals have always held a mirror to our own fears, aspirations, and connections to the earth. And as we dive deeper into these stories, we begin to see just how profoundly they shape the way we understand ourselves and the world around us. Throughout history, animals have often been seen as messengers, their presence or behavior interpreted as signs of what's to come. Take the black cat, for instance, a symbol that has long been shrouded in mystery. In European folklore, crossing paths with a black cat was believed to bring misfortune, a superstition that still lingers today. This association likely traces back to medieval times when black cats were linked to witchcraft and dark magic. Their sleek, enigmatic appearance made them easy scapegoats for human fears, transforming them into omens of bad luck. But while the black cat's reputation may be steeped in dread, it also reveals how deeply humans have looked to animals for answers, even in the face of the unknown. Then there's the raven, a creature that has flown through countless myths and legends as a harbinger of death and transformation. In Norse mythology, the god Odin was accompanied by two ravens, Hugin and Munin, who served as his eyes and ears, gathering knowledge from the world. Yet, beyond their role as Odin's messengers, ravens were also seen as omens of impending doom. This belief extends into literature, most famously in Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, where the bird's eerie presence symbolizes loss and the inescapable grip of fate. Across cultures, the raven's dark plumage and haunting calls have made it a powerful symbol of the unknown, a creature that bridges the gap between life and death. These animal omens reflect a deeper human desire to make sense of the unpredictable. By attributing meaning to the behavior of animals, people sought to uncover patterns in the chaos of life, using them as guides to navigate an uncertain future. Animals became tools for understanding the world, their presence interpreted as warnings or prophecies, but this relationship goes beyond mere superstition. In many myths, animals are also used to explain natural phenomena, offering a way to understand the forces that shape our environment. From storms to eclipses, the natural world has often been personified through animal symbolism, giving rise to stories that blend observation with imagination. Across cultures, animals have often been woven into the very fabric of how people understand the world around them. They don't just inhabit myths, they shape them, becoming powerful symbols of the forces of nature itself. Take the thunderbird, a figure central to many Native American traditions. This colossal bird, with wings that stretch across the sky, was believed to create storms with each mighty flap. Thunder rolled, lightning flashed, and rain poured down, all phenomena tied to the thunderbird's presence. This myth wasn't just a story. It was a way to make sense of the unpredictable and awe-inspiring power of nature, blending observation with imagination in a way that connected people to the world they lived in. In Hindu mythology, the Naga serpent-like beings play a similar role, but their domain is water. These creatures are often depicted as guardians of rivers, lakes, and rain, embodying both the life-giving and destructive aspects of water. When rivers flooded or drought struck, the behavior of the Naga could explain why. Fertility, too, was tied to their influence, as they were seen as essential to the cycles of growth and renewal. Like the thunderbird, the Naga served as a bridge between the natural world and the human one, offering explanations for phenomena that were otherwise difficult to comprehend. What's fascinating about these myths is how they reveal a universal human impulse to find meaning in the natural world. animals, with their diverse behaviors and traits, became the perfect lens through which to view these forces. But these stories didn't stop at explaining the world, they also taught lessons about how to live within it. This brings us to another key role animals play in mythology as moral guides. Just as they helped explain storms and rivers, they also became symbols of wisdom, caution, and virtue, shaping the moral landscapes of countless cultures. Animals have long been our teachers, not just in the wild but in the stories we tell. Fables, particularly those attributed to Aesop, have used creatures like the tortoise and the hare to impart timeless lessons. In the famous tale of the slow-moving tortoise and the overconfident hare, we learn that steady effort often outpaces raw talent. These simple yet profound stories use animals to mirror human behavior, making complex virtues like humility and perseverance easy to grasp. This tradition isn't unique to Aesop. Take the Panchatantra, an ancient Indian collection of animal fables, where cunning jackals and wise owls navigate life's challenges, teaching readers about strategy, wisdom, and morality. These stories resonate across cultures because they strip away human complexity, presenting truths in a way that's both universal and relatable. Animals, free from the biases and nuances of human society, become perfect vessels for moral instruction. But the role of animals as teachers doesn't stop at fables. In myths and legends, they often guide gods and heroes, embodying virtues or warnings. Consider the ravens of Odin in Norse mythology, who serve as his eyes and ears, symbolizing wisdom and foresight. Or the sacred cow in Hindu tradition, representing abundance and nonviolence. Animals in these stories aren't just characters, they're symbols carrying weight that transcends their physical form. What's striking is how these lessons, rooted in fables, extend seamlessly into the realm of the divine and the heroic. Whether it's a humble tortoise teaching us about persistence or a majestic eagle guiding a hero on a quest, animals bridge the gap between the everyday and the extraordinary, reminding us that wisdom can come from the most unexpected places. In mythology, animals aren't just creatures, they're powerful symbols, companions, and even adversaries that shape the stories of gods and heroes. Take Hercules, for example, whose legendary strength was put to the test against the Nemean lion. This fierce beast with its impenetrable hide wasn't just a physical challenge, it became a testament to Hercules' courage and determination. By slaying the lion, Hercules didn't just prove his might, he transformed the lion's pelt into a symbol of his own heroism, a reminder of his triumph over the impossible. But animals aren't always adversaries, often they're divine companions that reflect the essence of the gods themselves. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, is frequently depicted alongside a majestic stag or a swift deer. These creatures embody her connection to the wild, her grace, and her role as a protector of nature. Similarly, Apollo, the god of light and music, is often associated with swans, animals revered for their beauty and song, mirroring Apollo's artistic and luminous nature. These animals aren't just decorative, they're extensions of the gods' identities, amplifying their stories and making their divine qualities more tangible. This connection between animals and mythological figures isn't limited to Greek mythology. Across cultures, animals play pivotal roles in shaping the narratives of gods and heroes. In Norse mythology, Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, act as his eyes and ears, flying across the world to bring him knowledge. In Egyptian lore, Anubis, the jackal-headed god, guides souls to the afterlife, blending the form of an animal with divine purpose. These examples show how animals aren't just sidekicks, they're integral to the myths, adding layers of meaning and depth to the tales. And the role of animals doesn't end with life. They often bridge the gap between the mortal world and the afterlife. In many traditions, animals serve as guides or guardians for souls on their journey beyond death. The Egyptian Book of the Dead describes the importance of animal deities in protecting the deceased, while in Greek mythology, Cerberus, the three-headed dog, stands as a fearsome guardian of the underworld. These stories remind us that the connection between animals and the divine transcends life itself, weaving a thread that ties the mortal realm to the eternal. In the realm of mythology, animals are often more than mere companions or symbols. They are gatekeepers, guides, and guardians of the afterlife itself. Take, for instance, Anubis, the jackal-headed deity of ancient Egypt. This enigmatic figure wasn't just a god of the dead. He was a psychopomp, a guide who led souls through the perilous journey to the underworld. With his sharp senses and keen intuition, Anubis ensured that the deceased reached their final destination, while also presiding over the weighing of the heart, a ritual that determined one's fate in the afterlife. The jackal, a creature associated with scavenging and the edges of civilization, was a fitting symbol for this role, embodying the liminal space between life and death. Moving from the sands of Egypt to the mythic landscapes of Greece, we encounter Cerberus, the formidable three-headed dog who stood watch at the gates of Hades. This fearsome beast wasn't just a guardian to keep the living out, he also ensured that the dead could never escape. Cerberus's multiple heads symbolized vigilance, his unrelenting presence a reminder that the boundary between the mortal world and the realm of the dead was not to be crossed lightly. Yet, despite his terrifying appearance, Cerberus wasn't a mindless monster. His role was sacred, maintaining the balance and order of the cosmos by protecting the sanctity of the underworld. These creatures, Anubis, Cerberus, and others like them, serve as powerful symbols of transition and transformation. They represent the threshold between life and death, embodying the mysteries and fears that surround the great unknown. But their roles extend beyond mere guardianship. In many cultures, animals were actively involved in rituals and sacrifices, acting as intermediaries between humans and the divine. Whether through the offering of a sacred animal or the invocation of an animal spirit, these practices underscored the belief that animals held a unique connection to the spiritual realm, bridging the gap between the earthly and the eternal. Animals have long held a unique place in the sacred rituals and practices of cultures around the world, often serving as powerful intermediaries between the human and the divine. One striking example comes from the Aztec civilization, where eagles were revered as sacred beings closely tied to the sun god Huitzilopochtli. The Aztecs believed that by sacrificing these majestic birds, they could honor their deity and ensure the sun's continued journey across the sky, a ritual that symbolized the delicate balance between life, death, and renewal. This practice highlights how animals were not just participants in these ceremonies, but vital conduits of spiritual energy and cosmic order. Moving to another corner of the world, we find the lamb playing a pivotal role in Judeo-Christian traditions. Here, the lamb emerged as a profound symbol of purity and atonement, often associated with sacrifice and redemption. In the Hebrew Bible, the Passover lamb's blood marked the doors of the Israelites, sparing them from divine judgment, while in Christian theology, Jesus is referred to as the Lamb of God, embodying the ultimate sacrifice for humanity's sins. These rituals and symbols reveal how deeply animals were woven into the fabric of religious belief, representing both the sacred and the themes of sacrifice and forgiveness. These practices weren't just about the animals themselves, they reflected broader cultural values and worldviews. Whether it was the Aztecs honoring the sun god or the Israelites seeking divine protection, the use of animals in rituals underscored a universal human desire to connect with the divine and navigate the mysteries of existence. As we explore these traditions, another layer emerges: animals as symbols of cultural identity. Across myths and rituals, they often became emblematic of a community's values, struggles, and aspirations. This idea takes us even deeper into the ways animals have been viewed not just as sacred or cursed, but as reflections of the societies that revered them. Animals have long served as powerful symbols of cultural identity, embodying the values and aspirations of entire societies. Take the dragon, for instance, a figure deeply rooted in Chinese mythology and culture. Far from the fire-breathing monsters of Western tales, the Chinese dragon is a benevolent and majestic creature, representing power, prosperity, and good fortune. It's no wonder the dragon appears everywhere, from ancient imperial robes to modern national emblems. In China, the dragon isn't just a mythical beast, it's a reflection of the nation's enduring strength and unity, a symbol that has shaped its identity for thousands of years. Across the globe, the bald eagle holds a similar place of pride in the United States. Chosen as the national bird in the late 18th century, the bald eagle symbolizes freedom, resilience, and independence. Its soaring flight and sharp gaze have made it a fitting emblem for a nation built on ideals of liberty and strength. You'll find the eagle prominently featured on the Great Seal of the United States, as well as on currency, military insignia, and even the presidential seal. The bald eagle isn't just a bird, it's a representation of the American spirit, a reminder of the country's foundational values. These animal symbols aren't confined to mythology or official emblems. They're woven into the very fabric of cultural identity. In many countries, animals appear on flags, in folklore, and in national stories, shaping how people see themselves and their place in the world. The kangaroo and emu, for example, are featured on Australia's coat of arms, chosen because they're animals that can't move backward, symbolizing progress and forward momentum. In India, the tiger stands as a national animal, embodying grace, power, and the rich biodiversity of the land. But these symbols aren't static, they evolve alongside the societies they represent. As cultural values shift, so too do the meanings attached to these animals. The lion, once a universal symbol of royalty and dominance, has taken on new interpretations in different contexts, from representing courage in African folklore to symbolizing justice in European heraldry. Even the dragon and eagle continue to adapt, reflecting modern interpretations of their timeless qualities. Animals, in this way, are more than just symbols. They're mirrors of our collective identity, capturing the essence of who we are and what we aspire to be. Their presence in our stories, emblems, and traditions speaks to their enduring ability to connect us to our roots while inspiring us to look toward the future. The way we've come to see animals in stories has shifted dramatically over centuries, shaped by the cultures and values of each era. In ancient myths, animals were often sacred messengers, symbols of divine power, or even gods themselves. Think of the Egyptian god Anubis with the head of a jackal, guiding souls to the afterlife, or the Norse wolf Fenrir, embodying chaos and destruction. These creatures weren't just part of the story, they were the story, representing forces far beyond human understanding. But as time moved forward, so did their roles. Fast forward to today, and these same animals have found new life in modern media, carrying both their ancient symbolism and fresh layers of meaning. Take the wolf, for example. In ancient myths, wolves were often seen as both protectors and predators, a duality that reflected humanity's complicated relationship with the wild. In modern fantasy, this duality has been amplified. Think of the werewolf trope in literature and film, where the wolf symbolizes the struggle between human reason and primal instincts. Or consider the wolves in Game of Thrones, loyal companions to the Stark family, embodying themes of family, strength, and survival. These modern interpretations don't just borrow from the past, they reinvent it, weaving ancient symbolism into stories that resonate with contemporary audiences. But it's not just wolves. Across popular culture, animals from mythology continue to inspire. Dragons, once symbols of untamable chaos in European folklore, now often represent wisdom and power in modern fantasy, like Smaug in The Hobbit or Drogon in Game of Thrones. Even the humble owl, once a symbol of Athena's wisdom in Greek mythology, has become a cultural icon of knowledge and mystery, appearing in everything from Harry Potter to internet memes. What's fascinating is how these animals adapt, taking on new roles that reflect the values and concerns of our time. This blending of old and new isn't just a creative choice, it's a testament to the enduring power of these symbols. As long as we continue to tell stories, animals from mythology will remain a vital part of our narrative landscape, bridging the gap between the ancient and the modern, the sacred and the everyday. And in that evolution, they remind us that even the oldest stories can find new meaning in the world we live in today. From the towering griffins woven into the intricate threads of medieval tapestries to the majestic phoenixes rising from the ashes in modern novels, mythological animals have long been a source of artistic and literary inspiration. These creatures, born from ancient tales, have transcended their origins to become enduring symbols in culture, sparking the imagination of artists and writers across centuries. Take, for instance, the griffin, a hybrid of lion and eagle, which frequently appeared in medieval manuscripts and tapestries. Its presence was more than decorative, it symbolized strength, vigilance, and the divine, often guarding sacred spaces and treasures in these works. Moving into the realm of literature, authors have skillfully woven mythological animals into their stories, giving them new life in fresh contexts. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series introduced readers to creatures like the Hungarian horntail and the hippogriff, blending ancient folklore with her own imaginative twists. These beings weren't just fantastical additions, they carried symbolic weight, challenging characters and driving the narrative forward. Similarly, C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia brought us Aslan, the lion who embodies both majesty and sacrifice, drawing on biblical and mythological traditions to create a character that resonates deeply with readers. The influence of mythological animals isn't confined to the pages of books. They've also found their way into visual art and film, where their symbolic power continues to captivate audiences. From the dragons in The Lord of the Rings to the majestic creatures in Avatar, these beings evoke a sense of wonder and timelessness, reminding us of humanity's enduring connection to the mythical and the natural world. Their presence in these stories often serves as a bridge between the ancient and the modern, allowing us to explore universal themes in new and exciting ways. Today, this fascination with mythological animals has taken on a new dimension, as they become symbols of environmental and ethical concerns in contemporary society. Creatures like the phoenix, with its cycle of death and rebirth, now serve as metaphors for ecological renewal, while the endangered species of our world are often compared to the mythical beings we fear losing forever. This shift reflects a growing awareness of our responsibility to the natural world, and how these ancient symbols can inspire us to protect it. Mythological animals, it seems, still have much to teach us, not just about the stories of the past, but about the challenges and opportunities of the present. Mythology has always been a mirror reflecting humanity's relationship with the natural world, and nowhere is this more evident than in stories about animals. Take, for instance, the Native American belief that animals are more than just creatures, they are kin, teachers, and spiritual guides. This perspective challenges the modern view of animals as mere resources, offering a profound lesson in humility and interconnectedness. In many native traditions, animals are seen as beings with their own wisdom, deserving of respect and reverence. The story of the white buffalo calf woman, a sacred figure in Lakota mythology, illustrates this beautifully. She brought not only survival skills to the people, but also a deep understanding of harmony with nature. This ancient narrative reminds us that the natural world isn't just something to be dominated, it's a partner, a teacher, and a source of life. Myths also explore the darker side of humanity's relationship with nature through stories of cursed or transformed creatures. Think of the Greek myth of Actaeon, a hunter who stumbled upon the goddess Artemis bathing. As punishment for his intrusion, he was turned into a stag and hunted by his own hounds. This tale serves as a stark warning about the consequences of disrespecting nature's boundaries. It's a lesson that resonates today as we grapple with the environmental fallout of overexploitation and habitat destruction. These ancient stories, whether sacred or cautionary, highlight a timeless truth. Our actions toward the natural world have consequences, and respect for it is not just a moral choice but a necessity. The relevance of these myths isn't confined to the past. They continue to inspire modern environmental movements. Indigenous leaders and activists often draw on these ancient narratives to advocate for sustainable practices and conservation efforts. The Maori concept of Kaishiakitanga, or guardianship of the environment, is rooted in the belief that humans are stewards of the earth, tasked with protecting it for future generations. Similarly, the resurgence of interest in rewilding projects reflects a growing recognition of the need to restore balance to ecosystems, much like the harmony celebrated in mythological tales. These stories remind us that our relationship with nature isn't just about survival, it's about thriving together in a shared world. As we look to the future, mythology continues to shape how we understand and interact with animals. From the sacred cows of Hinduism, which symbolize life and prosperity, to the ravens of Norse mythology, seen as messengers of wisdom, these ancient narratives offer a framework for rethinking our role in the natural world. They challenge us to move beyond exploitation and toward coexistence, reminding us that the stories we tell about animals aren't just about them, they're about us, our values, and our place in the web of life. The legacy of animals in mythology isn't just a relic of the past, it's a living, breathing part of who we are. These creatures, whether sacred or cursed, have always been more than just animals. They've been mirrors reflecting humanity's deepest fears, wildest hopes, and most cherished values. Think about the stories we've shared: the cunning fox, the wise owl, the fearsome serpent. Each one carries a weight that goes beyond its physical form. They've become symbols teaching us about bravery, morality, and even our own vulnerabilities. What's truly remarkable is how these myths continue to resonate across cultures and generations. They've found their way into modern storytelling, from literature to film, because they speak to universal truths about the human condition. Take the phoenix, for example, a bird that rises from its own ashes. It's a symbol of resilience and renewal, a message that feels just as relevant today as it did thousands of years ago. Or consider the wolf, often depicted as a lone predator, yet in some mythologies it's a protector, a guide, a symbol of loyalty. These dualities reflect our own complex nature: light and dark, strength and fragility. Even in modern adaptations, the essence of these myths remains intact. Think of the werewolf in contemporary horror or the dragon in fantasy epics. These creatures aren't just monsters, they're metaphors for transformation, power, and the untamed parts of ourselves. And then there are the sacred animals like the elephant, revered for its wisdom and strength in cultures across Asia. These creatures remind us of our connection to nature and the importance of humility in the face of something greater than ourselves. As we've explored these stories, one thing becomes clear: animals in mythology aren't just part of our past, they're part of our present, shaping how we see the world and ourselves. They remind us of the lessons we've carried forward, the fears we still confront, and the hopes we continue to nurture. Whether they're seen as divine messengers, cursed beings, or something in between, their legacy endures because they speak to something timeless within us.